Grandpa was good. The crowd going and they were rocking it. But they were later at night, like till midnight. We'd like to have them back.
For social distancing.
Well, I don't care. You can sit up if you want. I won't do it.
Yeah, I think it was just set up for a board meeting.
Sit
So.
over there.
I had the decision in my, I don't know if I can space up.
Are we getting very many? Because we're not getting very many people here. They probably looked at the agenda as kind of skinny. John and Susan Moore somewhere.
Only got 4 online that I saw.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Whatever happened, I haven't checked, I was gonna check with Bob Rice, Clifford, I haven't seen him for a while.
I haven't seen Clifford either. He hasn't come to
He
any.
said there was a meeting, he attended it.
I wondered about him not long ago, Jeff. What happened to that guy?
Yeah,
Is he okay?
last I talked to him, he had some ground that wanted to develop right kind of by that Casey's when you're coming into Polk City there. And I don't know, he had something to do with Polk City's rules for what was I gonna say? PUD said they had to have minimum 10 acres and he had like 9.7 or something. And they were being pretty sticky about it. I said, geez, ours is a 5 acre. Oh, well,
It's different.
they are. We're on the, we got heat for about the 10th time since I've been in city business for 50 years. They keep, the backyard chickens keep coming around and trying to sneak under the fence, you know. Right now, they're up in Ankeny arguing with them about it. I talked to Kelly Hayworth and I was on pre-run and from Coralville, he's the administrator there, and he said, yeah, they got into us finally 2 years ago. And he says the roosters are crowing all over the place and they're not supposed to have any at all. Well, what do you think?
I think we're good to go.
All right, I guess we'll call this meeting to order. And first item is introductions. Vernal City of Altoona.
Mindy Moore, HDR.
Pat Sheehan, Story County Conservation.
Carl Saxon with the MPO.
Z Chen with NPO.
And then folks online, please jump in if you would.
Colby Fangman, Des Moines Parks and Rec.
Derek Hansen, Des Moines Parks and Rec.
Eric Dahl, City of West Des Moines Parks and Rec.
Nicole Van Houten, Bondurant Parks and Rec.
Kent Sovereign with Livable 515, which is the which was born out of age-friendly Greater Des Moines.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you for being here. I know we're kind of small group this day, so next item is the agenda. If everybody looked at it, is there any items you want to add, Carl, or not?
I think Colby had one he wanted to add. Is that right, Colby?
Not that I can think of. What did I bring up?
It was kind of continuing the GIS discussion.
Oh, sure.
Well, and then that could be in with the trails and planning.
Yeah, that's an item number 5 discussion.
Yeah, okay. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And second,
I'll second.
thank you, Mindy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, I'm going to say that passed. We're on for meeting minutes from May 16th. Have you all read and see if your name was in there or not?
So unfortunately, I did not get meeting minutes
I
out.
didn't think I
With
saw
the
it.
holiday shortening things, we had some deadlines last week with the grant being due. I unfortunately didn't get to the weekend, so I can get those out today.
So those will be sent out today and we'll approve those next time.
I for sure.
All right. Discussion on trail planning and GIS subcommittees. And who would like to start?
Yeah, I can start. So we're continuing with our update of the GIS trails attributes. So during our discussion today, we talked about the regional classification. How do we measure the trails? How long the trails are within the regional network? And so one question that came up was that the Iowa DOT is now switching how they classify trails. Originally, we had that 3-tier classification where we had the level 1 statewide trails, level 2 regional trails, and level 3 local trails. But now the DOT is reclassifying that to statewide trails and local trails. So kind of for us, when we add trails into our GIS network, we were wondering at our subcommittee, should we continue with what we've been doing now with that 3-tier structure, or should we follow what Iowa DOT is now doing with that new 2-tier structure?
Maybe it's just me. I would think it's nice to do a little more of a 3-tiered section. I don't know how you feel about Penny, but I think that regionally significant makes a difference, not just statewide or local.
I think one question would be, is that a factor in determining the distribution of local TAP funds? When people apply, do they get extra points for having a regional designation that's not a statewide trail?
And for a little more context, the DOT's long range plan says that regional significant becomes statewide significant. So they do kind of broaden the umbrella to include the regionals under their new classification.
Oh, okay.
And then would everything that we say is regional qualify for what they say is statewide?
It's a good question. There's not enough definition to define. And I know in the past, we've kind of talked about regionals being multi-jurisdictional. I think that makes sense. But all up for debate. I don't think the long range plan gets much further into details than saying we're moving away from 1, 2, 3 to statewide or local. And that's about all the further it drills down. But I do think the point associated to funding that Mindy brought up is a great point. Otherwise, people are just going to call it whatever they want. So is there an implication for TAP? Are there implications for SRT, FRT? I think those are good questions. Derek, do you recall, you're working on an SRT right now. Do you recall, does it ask for local or statewide significance?
It just asks for like, where is it in regional plans and
Gotcha.
any other kind of plans, but nothing specific to that.
Yeah, so maybe if you're within their long range plan, you're considered the statewide. If not, but I think that will reveal some discrepancies of things that we consider regional that are not within their statewide plan. So then it's not going to track with the definition, their definition. So that's why it's a discussion item.
I would think that you would need, like in your attribute table, you'd almost need both categories then, right? You'd need the statewide.
Sure.
Whatever the state's designation is, and then plus whatever you want to call it, MPO region designation that you can do whatever you want with.
I don't object to that.
It's just more, it's maybe kind of confusing, but.
It's just one more field.
Yeah, small field.
I think that's a good different approach that we hadn't discussed.
I think as long as there's a clear definition of how everyone classifies those.
Yeah, and there would need to be an agreed upon definition for whatever the categories are, which we've done in the past.
Yeah, because I think it's because we have to have a way to differentiate the hierarchy for us if we're gonna, well, we don't specifically grade them anymore, another team does, but how they're gonna gain points for grant money.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with a new field. I think that's a quick, easy workaround.
Agreed.
Okay, what else?
Another thing that we had questions on was how do we calculate mileage, but that was also part of the discussion on the classification of the different trails. I think because of this new field, I think we can determine the mileage again. And then I think one last thing is that, let me open my notes here. There are certain trail segments where you might have two side-by-side facilities. So an example is 6th Street, where you have I think a sidewalk trail and also a bike facility next to it. And so in the GIS, there was a question on how should we mark that in GIS? Should we show those as two separate lines or the same line?
6 Avenue?
That's just one example. There's some examples in the suburbs as well. What was the one you brought up, Eric? For the side by side?
Waterford Road and Urbandale.
Yep. And it seems to be becoming a more popular thing to have a pedestrian facility and segregate that from the exclusive use bicycle facility. But in, out in space, at least for 6th, you see one with some integral color, one without integral color. So unless color triggers that in your mind, they feel like a single multi-use facility. So it's a question of how do we manage that? Is that actually one dedicated bicycle facility and then a sidewalk, which we actually wouldn't track sidewalks within trails? Or is it a single 14-foot wide facility? Because what they have is they have a 6-foot sidewalk next to an 8-foot dedicated bicycling facility. So it's a question of, is this one 14-foot facility, or should we characterize it exactly as designed or intended, that it's two different lines?
For the bicycle facility, I would imagine there's a removal that happens, and then does it cover the entire area, or the residents that are adjacent to the sidewalk responsible for the sidewalk?
Sorry, I'm really struggling to hear.
Do we know the maintenance of it? So like snow removal, is the entire 14-foot wide area cleared during snow removal by one entity, or are they cleared separately? I guess how is the maintenance of it seen?
I think in the case of 6th, I think Public Works does all of it. I cannot speak to the other examples. So yeah, I would suggest that's going to be a case by case thing. Even for example, when a PUD developer builds 8-foot wide sidewalks, we don't start plowing those. That would be part of their sidewalk facility because the city didn't develop it. So really it comes down, that's really going to be a case by case scenario in my perspective. And whether it's parks or public works or whatnot, it's going to come down to who funded it and who the responsibility lies with. So I don't think it's going to be, you're not going to have a consistent practice associated with that, in my opinion.
It'd be difficult. We just went through at council level, upgraded from like small town attitude that 6 foot is like a major, it's drilling that and school route and everything, and we were plowing them. We just made the determination that unless it's 8 foot or above, or we'll call it a trail or a side path, we don't plow any of that. So anything 6 foot or under, it's all the property owner's responsibility, and basically that's a sidewalk.
Yeah, I would generally agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Really, we need Jeff Wiggins we need his opinion on this one, or other jurisdictions that have those side by side facilities. It's hard to know how they're going to feel about it.
Right, because there's no grade separation. There's literally no separation, right? It acts as a shared
Yeah,
like, right, just acts as shared, so that's
and
probably how it's displayed on the map.
I have something to consider when you're thinking about that, and I honestly don't really care which way it goes, but.
Right. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just laughing.
Or no physical separation, I would probably classify that more as a trail. And one reason for that is because there's no ADA detection for the pedestrian. So if you're a blind pedestrian, you can't tell where you're walking.
Right.
So I honestly don't believe those are ADA compliant. Therefore, they really need to function as a side path and not as park bike and park pedestrian. So that's my take on it. But places like Indianola, where you have a trail and you have a bike lane, that should have 2 lines.
So
Yeah.
really drilling down to the regulatory engineering perspective on it.
Yeah, that's my take, but like.
That makes sense.
I
makes
don't
sense.
manage a jurisdiction, so I'll leave that one to you.
I think that makes sense though.
Yeah, so I guess for that discussion, should we bring it back some other time?
Yes, call for Jeff Wiggins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think exactly what Mindy brought up, and laying that out in front of Jeff, because I know Jeff's going to say it's 2 facilities, but giving him the notion that, well, engineering standards is at 2 facilities, it'd be interesting to see how he responds in that scenario. And again, end of the day, I don't care. I just want consistent direction for how everyone's doing it.
Okay, what else?
I think Kobe or Derek or Eric, whoever else was on the committee, was there anything else we covered? I think those were the things we wanted to bring
Yeah,
forward.
you kind of hit on the big mileage item. I just wanted to hit that again. Just because we get these requests for how many miles are in the system each year. As we work through the definition updates, we need to work through like, what is the actual geospatial process to come up with a count of miles within the Central Iowa Trails Network. I saw that number balloon, kind of went from 400 to 500 to 600. Then there was a question of like, well, is it actually 800 plus? So I just want to make sure that, every year that question comes up and that we're taking a thoughtful, consistent, agreed upon approach in how those are calculated. That's all.
Okay. Count the miles. What else? Did you have something else on the GIS side of it? Or either or on the trail plan part?
Not so much on the trails planning.
Nobody showed for that.
No, we again did not post ahead of time that was happening. So we need to get that going.
Okay. Well, we're moving ahead here real fast. So now we have non-action items of interest for the committee.
Does anyone have anything?
I've got an item, but I don't need to jump right in.
You're there.
All right. So we recently got some engagement about trail etiquette notification. And just curious what other entities are doing on that in the past. We've typically just posted some etiquette info through our PIO, Public Information Office, or our communications department. We've gotten, internally, there's hesitation to do these signs out in space, which I completely understand. In our personal experience, we found that signage rarely works. For example, I had a request for a curve caution sign fairly recently. And I went out there and was like, yep, same sign I put up 6 years ago is still there today. So this person had ridden by this sign thousands of times and didn't even realize it was there. So curious what others' feedback is on trail etiquette, keeping to the right, saying on your left when you're passing, ringing your bell, keeping your canine close to you and on leash, things like that. Just curious if there are other practices out there that people are using, or if actual signage in space is being used, and whether they're getting any reaction. Do people feel that's working? Anything like that. So it's just kind of a broader, what are people doing to bolster trail use etiquette? And, you know, particularly in the context of Ragbri coming, I think it's seasonally topical.
I don't remember how many places I thought anything, bunch of days in it all for trail. And again, I know that my years, they don't have anything really posted. I wish they would, and that would help, because otherwise you're right, you got people and you have an ordinance that's the other system, you know, and they got those extended leashes and they've outnamed somebody by the time they get the dog where it is.
So, Carl or Z, something's going on with the mic. It's real muffled and then it's real clear. It's real muffled, then it's real clear.
Yeah, same here.
Move the mic closer, people.
I think, I don't know, that happens at our council meeting when it's online, it's just real static and
Huh.
and all of a sudden it cleans up again and it's good for a while. Like, it's something to do with the internet.
I was gonna say it's crystal clear right now. Yeah. But yeah, I to the resident that reached out, we discussed internally and said we're staying the course. I'm just planning on posting at this time. So that's what I let the resident know. But eventually we have interest in doing something more dedicated out in space. But didn't know if anyone has a precedent they love or anything like that.
Do you have any tracking of where issues and what type of issues have occurred anywhere, like where people say like, hey, I had an issue, like they called in? Are we tracking it anywhere to try and pinpoint areas that we might need to have some extra signage? Because I would assume that it's different problems in different areas based on what's in that vicinity.
So physical issues like aggregate getting on paving, stuff like that, we get those calls. We don't get the near misses, and I would love it if we had a near miss mapper, because when people have a near miss, they don't report it. So we don't know where that is, or if there's a spatial condition issue driving that near miss. So that's a problem. But behaviorally, what we hear most is just at our busy parks. Grays Lake, people are zooming in and all around with their bikes, zipping through people. And it's like, the park gets 1 million uses a year. We don't have rangers for the municipal department. We rely on the police department. So that's never going to trigger a call. Well, it might trigger a call to PD. However, they're never going to deploy for someone saying they're riding their bike too fast, zipping in and out of trail traffic. For me, where we see them most is just our busiest trails. And as far as we're concerned, it's really a personal responsibility, personal accountability, respecting others sort of item. And that's why we really struggle with, is physical signage really going to do anything when it should be the community self-policing each other, in my perspective. Maybe that's off point, maybe it's not.
So Colby, I think, so you have trail rules or etiquette on the info hubs, right? So it is posted.
We do not have them on our hubs. I know some people do have them on their hubs. Or if it's out there, I'm not aware.
Ones that I worked on have it on there. Maybe your new ones don't.
Okay. So maybe some of them do, but I would suggest the vast majority do not.
But I would agree with you. Like, I don't think people read signage like that. They're not gonna go out there and read, oh, I'm supposed to say on your left, and so now I'm gonna start saying on your left. It comes from being with other people that are doing it or witnessing other people doing it. But I think as far as like, if you wanted to do something, I think like a temporary campaign might be more effective, like if you, especially if you use humor somehow, you know, like show a dog pooping on the trail or something, and then like do like temporary signage for a week or a couple weeks or whatever, that, so people aren't biking by it every day, so they don't notice it, it's something
Right.
that's there for a short time, goes away.
I think that's a really good point. Which to riff off that, what are people's thoughts on a roundtable wide effort to try to get this out lots of places concurrently, to actually try to move the needle a little bit?
That would be a good thing. And maybe it's, I don't know how many people read it, but it's Altoona Living, it's Waukee Living, they all come out. Maybe they could have a session on that, we could contact them and on trail etiquette.
I think that would be great. Yeah, I mean, every neighborhood uses the trail, so just in that goes to the
Yep.
neighborhood communication channels, that'd be good.
Especially for this time of year, I don't know.
Right. So I guess, you know, and maybe we're working towards a more thoughtful program that we kick out once a year at the beginning of the season. So I'd be interested in working on a collaboration on that. So, you know, maybe, I don't know if that's a subcommittee. I'm not sure what it is, but I would like to see something done. And if we can all get on the same tune, I think it's going to be more effective. And within that, I'd be happy to provide some leadership over that. However, if there are any existing assets out there that people really love, like I know Polk uses the traffic triangle, the yield traffic triangle, some things like that. I think that'd be helpful, and I can vet this discussion further with our public information office. I'm sure they would be happy to put together a quick cut of video vignettes. Why do this? Why don't do this? To show right and wrong practices. I think that'd be a nice and a quick 2-3 minute video. I think that's going to get consumed readily, but I love the out in space practice as well.
I think that's an excellent idea. Maybe if you talk with your information people and then figure out something in a way that we can get hold of them, maybe we can get our people, some of the other communities or whatever, information person, where they could all come out at the same time.
Right. Okay, that's something I can put in a little time into between now and next meeting.
Thanks, Colby.
But yeah, it'd be nice to bring it up again when we have higher attendance to try to get some broader buy-in, and give me some names that I can actually hold to account that, yeah, I'll work with you on this. So.
Yes, sir.
I can just put it on the agenda.
Put it on the next one.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's all I got on that topic.
Any other items from anybody? Anybody? All right. Discussion, the Iowa Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau.
Yeah, so this was brought to our attention last week, that the Iowa Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau is kind of putting out their blast. I've not heard of this program previously. However, there is an opportunity for funding opening up in October, which will run through September of next year. $250,000 for pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements. There wasn't a ton of information for me to provide to you. I just wanted to let everyone know that the program was available, and that there's contact information for Sherry Crone and her email as well, and can follow up with any sort of information that might be needed. But this is for pedestrian and bicycle improvements in our community. So I wanted to make everyone aware that this was announced, and it is out there and available.
All right.
Is it posted somewhere? Is there like a live guidance document, or do we just got to reach out to Sherry on that?
I'll put out provide the link to the webpage
Okay.
with more on it. There's a few individual links that have some reading as well. So I think most of the information will be in there, and then any follow-up from there can be reached out to
Okay.
Sherry.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so Z, are you the data bike guy?
It's
Just gonna talk about it?
just a
You have an opportunity, right?
right. So we're beginning our data collection with the data bike. So I just wanted to put it out there that if anyone would be willing and wanted to help out with that, there's plenty of regional trail segments that we could deliver the data bike out to the trailhead for you, and you could ride that segment of trail for us. And I mean, there's just a large amount of miles that we need to update and collect at the moment. So just putting it out there, if anyone wants to help, wants to ride an e-bike and help us collect some data, we're happy to coordinate with you and deliver the bike and get you set up on that so that we can get the whole regional network updated.
And how old do you have to be to volunteer?
18, I believe, yeah.
Oh, no, 16-year-olds.
Maybe with.
Is there a height requirement?
Right, if you wanted to like ride with them or something like that, that would totally be fine, probably, I think, or we can also just talk to Dylan and Zach and see.
I assume they have to sign a waiver.
Yeah, there is a waiver.
Yeah.
But,
Do you have a map of areas that are in need of it?
Yeah, so this year we're doing the regional trail network, so your level 1 and level 2 trails. Your Great Western, your Gately Wilson, Raccoon River Valley, Somerset, Middlesex.
Have you guys done any engagement with entities that have volunteer coordinators to try to funnel volunteers towards this? We have a very sophisticated volunteer division within our Parks and Recreation. I know Polk County does. Story, Pat, I don't know if you guys have a volunteer coordinator or not. So I think that, you know, if you're really needing volunteers, engaging those people will probably get you more volunteers than you can handle very quickly. So that'd be my recommendation is if there's a serious need, I mean, if you're just throwing it out for roundtable members for the opportunity, but if there's a serious need, those local coordinators can really help you fill these slots.
I appreciate that. I think at this time, we typically rely on an intern, which we're in the process of hiring right now.
Gotcha.
So I think this was more of just if you are wanting to and able to, that's great. But I don't think at this time we're in dire need of volunteers. But
Gotcha. Okay.
But if we do become in dire need, we'll absolutely reach out to them. So thank you.
Yeah, hit us up if you get there. So.
I believe the speaker is muffled again.
Yep.
Now, is it working better?
There you are.
I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know.
Maybe our internet is bad today or something.
Anyway, they had that post that said that they were from Ankeny to Ames or whatever. And so I just missed a little bit about them because they were talking about this new trail and I'm thinking they're going north-south. Well, what she actually meant was she came across by Cambridge, the trail was paved there. So how much of that is done now?
Right now, we're paved from the High Trestle Trail there in Slater all the way to the Skunk River Bridge, just east of Cambridge. But with the project updates, same thing, we're still working for this winter bid letting for the summer project to go from the bridge to the halfway point, the S14, and then through the destination Iowa, we're also bidding out to go from S14 all the way to Collins. So hopefully by the end of next summer, we'll be paved across the county, 95% across the county.
So that'd be nice. So that'll go right through, well, it goes through Maxwell there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we'll go all the way through there. So connect all those communities going across there. With that, Ray Rise crossing right there, Slater, going right next to our Heart of Valley Nature Trails.
Yes, it is.
We're working with some signage up there because we're talking about outreach coordinators trying to get people to recognize them. All my bike riding friends in Ankeny, I keep asking if they've taken the heart yet. They're like, the one that's in rock, and I'm like,
Yeah,
no, it's
Yeah.
that, it's been paved since 2020 to this certain point, so
yeah.
we're trying to get more.
There was another comment in there, something about, well, taking away another good limestone trail. Well, the last time I rode it, my bike, I had to try to keep from being stuck in it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it was a good limestone trail,
Well,
but
there's one of those, like, in my Serpent grants and SRTs, we put down, it's the limestone we get in this area doesn't have the fines,
Yeah.
so it's like, almost like ball bearings or pea gravel.
yeah,
There's no fines really compact, and I can take you to a couple spots that are really bad about that, so. But we get those comments too about, we took away from my nice quiet trail, but when the trail right next to it is 99.9% more usage. So we'll be discussing numbers since 2018, or 2019, it's went up 400% just on the usage. Unfortunately, one of our trail counters was broken last year, we didn't know it. But right now it's getting higher usage. City of Huxley, that's really loving it. The brewery, the Flight Bar Grill just won the burger of the state.
yeah.
They're all just loving that, so. So yeah, we're still moving forward on that, but yeah, if you tell people, hey, if you're down there, take a right, head east at them, Slater and see what's out there. And we're still working, we got some bike lanes, our 30 bike lanes, we're still exploring ideas on how to fix that, or
Yeah,
make it, because that's a very high use road and a high speed road. You go to Highway 69 between Huxley and Slater, I took it 3 times yesterday, average speed is 45 miles an hour, just there's always some slower drivers on that. R38, I get it, I wouldn't want to be on there, but compared to 10 years ago, it's a lot better.
well, the route from, I will say, offside a little bit, the route coming from Ames down to Des Moines is a very nice ride. Of course, they came down through Luther and there, and they get that wide bike lane all the way, and that, then wiggle around there through Boat City and that, but that was a sweet ride that day. And I hope it's gonna be even sweeter when it's congested. Anyway, anybody else with a project update? Before the Des Moines crew takes over.
I'll wait for Des Moines crew.
I included more on the, I know that Jasper County, I think Purdue is supposed to be submitting a grant for the extension of that trail for the city to come. So, anybody else, projects?
Say we're muffled again. Are Des Moines good to go?
Yes, go ahead.
So our big one is that our formerly known as Carlisle Trail, formerly renamed as the Karis Call Connector Trail, to honor Ragbri founders. That will initiate construction the end of June. They'll start with the tunnel under Army Post. So if you're familiar, it's by the lakes, right by Army Post Road. We'll be just to the east of the lake, so we'll be up in the high and dry. And they have to have the Army Post done by November if they're initiating construction this year, which is their intent. Howery Construction was the low bidder. They specialize in golf cart paths, so they're used to a Parks and Recreation application. And we're excited for the project. That's all I got.
Good news.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from the other side of Des Moines? Because I know you got a couple of divisions working on them.
I don't think I have anything to add at this point. Just construction levee alterations are continuing to impact trails. So John Pat Dorian right now on the north side of the river, and then Carl Boss will follow. And then Icon comes back in and closes those trail sections as well. So those are kind of the big closures coming up. We are working through deferred maintenance items. Bill Riley Trail will be the next one, as well as the Levee Trail that connects us to West Des Moines. Looking at getting those, I think, started construction in 2024. Yep. So those are kind of our big ones that are coming down the pipeline.
Gailey Wilson underpasses.
And then, yes, well, soon, here in July, part of RegBri, we'll be doing some underpass work at Gailey Wilson Trail as well as the Waveland Trail. Improving the underpasses by adding a head wall or stem wall or head wall?
Stem wall.
Stem wall to the underpasses to help protect it from the undermining that happens from stream floods. So that will be probably a week closure at each underpass. So just keep your eyes out for that closure, and I will do my best to communicate when that will be happening.
Is that over by Norwoodville that you're gonna do, and where when it floods, then it leaves a trail full of mud? Is that gonna fix that?
Which location was that? Sorry.
I call it over by Norwoodville, is it where you go under the interstate or Broadway?
That I think is far past the city
Yeah.
limits.
We're talking like under Easton, Hubble. Right now, those are very low head clearance, Vern. They're about 8-foot head clearance. And when the water comes up, we find that the trail, the sub base gets scoured out. And there's spots where the paving, you can reach a good 18 inches under the paving. So with a heavy enough vehicle, that paving's just gonna slough. So what we're actually doing is tying in a stem wall between that outer edge to cap in the sub base. So that way the scouring force of the water can't scrape that out.
Yeah, I was just trying to think if that's over by Euclid, or maybe that was closer to Hubble.
I think Euclid's one of them, Hubble. There's a few along the Gailey Wilson we're gonna do protection on.
Yeah. And then just a couple of side path projects. We have the 63rd Street or Highway 28, I believe, between West Des Moines and Des Moines. That side path is currently being designed. That'll connect us from Veterans Parkway all the way down to the Levee Trail that runs you east-westbound into West Des Moines and then Des Moines. And then as well, Indianola side path should be completed fall 2023. A good portion of it has been poured. They're working on the south side, trying to get that open, I think, for fall 2023 from last I know. So that's my updates.
Okay.
Eric here with West Des Moines. We have a small half-mile section of the Jordan Creek Trail we're gonna reconstruct just west of 60th Street. So that'll be in August. And then really the only other thing I can think of is we're doing a master plan over at the Raccoon River East Greenway. It's kind of a wooded area north of the river and just west of 60th or 63rd Street, excuse me. And so we're considering, we have a public survey right now, and I can put it in the chat box. It'd be great if anyone would want to look at that and see. But we're considering single track. And so that's kind of, as well as a trail connection that would ultimately lead to Raccoon River Park. So I'll drop that in there. And if you have any questions, you can contact me.
Thank you. Anybody else? Polk County wasn't on the line, was he? Had a couple of questions for him, but I guess I'll call Adam later. Okay then. Upcoming events and notable news. Yeah, nothing for well, of course, RegBri will be coming. My understanding is when we were on the pre-ride, we got to Ankeny and they didn't want to ride the actual route, which is going down 14th Street because of cars at that time. So we sagged, well, we didn't sag really. I rode home and then the rest of the group rode down part of the trail from like over there by Sycamore Access going south and then down by Captain Roy's and grumbled about the shape of the trail going all the way down there. It's in kind of bad shape yet. But the way they're coming in and then the way they're gonna leave, and of course, the first grumbles that they got in the morning when they started to head toward Tama, Toledo, they have to come through Pleasant Hill and Altoona, and so they gotta go right by the fairgrounds, and they don't like the hills going up, but a couple more hills going up, but should be no big deal, because it was hills the whole week. many other people are going, but 500 miles and plenty of feet of climb, so you should probably train if you're going. Plenty doable, okay. I don't think I have anything else. Future agenda items, you're gonna bring that one other item back. For the trail etiquette.
Yep, anything else anyone has to add?
Yeah. Anybody else have an item they want on the agenda next time or a presentation? Okay, well, that's short and sweet. Next roundtable meeting is July 18th, 2023. Same place, same time. And hopefully we can get some more attendees.
I was gonna say, I think we'll bribe people again. With food.
Either that or what? Yeah, we'll have to have, Selectly bring back some pizza or something. Okay, well, with that, Mindy's gonna move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, one second, thank you. Good point.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
you say aye.
Aye.
So that was. But we
That's
did
the
it.
fun.
I know it. Some of our talkers weren't here. Carl wasn't here.